to my 2024 reading wrap-up. I read a total of, I think, 21 books this year. Not a lot, but my goal was 20, like I do every year. So it was a pretty good year. I feel like I've read more in past years, but I've also been pretty busy, so I feel like I still read a pretty decent amount of books this year. So let's get into it. The first book I read this year, I actually don't have it with me, but my friend has it. I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. I'll put it up there. We've all heard of it. I gave it a 5-star. I loved everything about it. I think the reason I didn't remember reading it was because I read it December into January. I audiobooked it, trying to get it off my TBR, and I think this is more of a book you shouldn't audiobook. Normal People is a story about Marianne and Connell. It's like based in Dublin, Ireland. Marianne comes from like a higher social class than Connell. Connell's mom actually cleans Marianne's house. At first, when I read the book, I didn't think I enjoyed it until I watched the show, and now it's something I just literally cannot stop thinking about. I'd recommend the book to anyone. Yes, Sally Rooney's writing, they always say, is hard to get into, and I think that's why I audiobooked it, but I also feel like audiobooking this is something like I regret doing. Like I'll probably reread it sometime once I get it back, just because it's so good. So the next book I read was The Silent Vows. I'm pretty sure I gave that a 3.75 star. I read this on Kindle Unlimited. It's a mafia romance between Naomi and Connor. Naomi, after being put through like a very traumatic experience in the beginning of the book, has chose to go mute, and nobody knows that she's chosen to. They think it's like medically she can't speak. So her father forces her to marry into the Reed family, with kind of like settle family ties and things like that. I enjoyed the book. I remember some about it, but not much. I remember really liking it when I did read it. It took me a little bit to get into. I remember starting the novella. I don't remember the novella after it, but it's about her cousin in the next one. And some people would probably be into it, but like it started off like he like started calling her kitten, and I was like, I can't do this, so I did DNF the novella. But if you're into that, like I think you would enjoy it. Like it like the series is good, the writing's good, like it's easy to follow along, but I'm just not into like the kitten and stuff like that. So the next book I read was also on my Kindle. A lot of these books are going to be on my Kindle because I just became obsessed with my Kindle after this year. I read was Contractual Obligations. I gave this a 3-star. I don't remember much about it. I don't remember their names. All I remember is she was a model, as well as like an author, that like a secret author no one knows about. And her mom kept all her money hidden from her. She was trying to get the money so she could like pay for her own bills or something like that. Something like I don't remember much, but they promised to give her money because it was in like a children's fund, because it was like children's modeling. She was under 18. So they forced her to marry this guy, and I think he had something to do with like a business. Like they wanted to get publicity for a certain business, and she was like really pretty, and like, you know, he's rich or whatever. So it's kind of like they were in a forced marriage for 4 years for like specific reasons, each to their own. Don't remember a lot about it, but I remember it was good at the time. It was 3 stars. I'll never give a book under 3 stars unless I really, really, really hate it. I think I've only ever given one book 2 stars. Overall, the book was not that memorable. Like, I personally would not read it again. Like, it was good to read at the time on your Kindle, but like, there's better Kindle Unlimited books out there, personally. So the next book I read was Rule Number 5, and I also gave that a 5-star. But like thinking back on it now, I think I'd move it down to like a 4.75 star because I don't remember a lot about it compared to the other hockey romances I've read. Okay, so their names are Sydney and Jax. Sydney has like 5 main roles, and like one of them is she will not date a hockey player, and Jax kind of just wants to do whatever he can to like get her to date him because he like really likes her. Actually seen like a clip on TikTok, like a little like excerpt from the book that made me want to read it. So that's where I found it. This is also on my Kindle Unlimited. I don't know what much like more to say about it. Overall, I did really enjoy it when I did read it, but like I also am blanking. I don't remember. Yeah, I really like the book. I would move my rating down to 4.75 star now though. Like thinking on it, because the other hockey romances I read, I really did enjoy. So, okay. These next books were also on my Kindle Unlimited. So there's 3 of them in one, but I'm just gonna kind of talk about them. They were absolutely wild. So, like, not in a good way, but not in a bad way either. I read A Court of Crowns and Dragons, I think it was called. The first one, the second one, and the third one. I might have gotten the title wrong. So I'm just going to try to give you a synopsis of the first one, and it sounds really good, but like it also was kind of such a wild reading experience. Like I kind of read it because it felt like a soap opera. So there's 4 like dragging shifting kings. Dragging shifting kings, yes. Lysander, Grayson, Emery, and Arden. The thing about them, they all represent like a different element. So like yeah, cute, right? Yeah, it gets weird. So they're all looking for wives for their like palace or their like land that they own. They have over like 100, I think, girls there, and they have to race to be like their queens to their kingdom. Our main girl character did not like. Some of these girls know that they have been like training for this, but like our main girl character knew nothing about it. But these girls just like are kidnapped by these men in the beginning and like are forced to race to be their king. So this may be a spoiler. It sounds really good, but I am gonna give you a little heads up. All 4 of the Dragon Kings end up falling in love with her. They decide that they're gonna share her, if you're getting what I'm putting down. But so that was just the first book. The second one was even more wild, and the third one was crazy. I did not read the 4th one. Like I started it and like I wasn't into it anymore because I had to wait for it to be released. But it's like, guys, every time I read this, I was like, it's like a soap opera. Like what else could happen? So like do with that what you want to do with it, but I'm just saying it's absolutely the most wild ride ever. So yeah, overall, I mean, it was good. I was just caught a little off guard. So yes, that was A Court of Dragons and Crowns, I think. Something like that. Okay. I actually have this next book here with me. The next book I read is The Deal by Ellen Kennedy, and you can kind of see I have like the blue cover. I got this on my trip for my birthday. 5 star. I loved it so much. This is a book I think about all the time. Hannah and Garrett are our main characters in this book, and they go to Briar College, I'm pretty sure. It's a college hockey romance, and I love hockey romances so much. So Hannah is like in the same class as Garrett, and she's not one, like she thinks he's annoying or whatever, and she's, I'm pretty sure, a theater major. And Garrett, on the other hand, he's like top of his hockey team or whatever, and he's struggling in this class that Hannah is doing really well in, but everyone is struggling in this class. So he asked her to tutor him. It was so good. The romance was amazing in this. Like 5 star. I think it was my favorite in the series so far. Would look up trigger warnings for this book, just like to have a heads up on like what you're getting into. Overall, Garrett and Hannah are one of my favorite book couples of all time. I would definitely recommend this to anyone just looking for like a nice like feel-good romance. I just loved everything about it. I really did. 5 star. I would recommend to anyone. Okay, guys. Again, back with this same series. The next one I read was The Mistake by Ellen Kennedy. I only gave this one a 3 star. This is Logan and Grace. Grace is a freshman. I don't have an issue with it personally because I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. He likes her, and Logan's like low-key kind of immature anyway. And is also on the same hockey team as, oh my gosh, his number's 22. That's my favorite number. But yeah, Logan's on the same hockey team as Garrett, and Logan's kind of one that can get any girl he wants. This is kind of just a distraction. Like he kind of like ends up at her door accidentally. It's still good. I would recommend, but it wasn't my favorite in the series. It just kind of felt like meh. This next book I don't think I have it with me. school. I did read Hamlet for school. I actually gave it a 3.5 stars. Like, I read it with my class. Like, I played Hammy himself. I don't remember much, but, like, I remember enjoying it, not, like, hating it. Like, spoiler alert, like, literally everyone's dying in Hamlet. Like, I mean, I put it down there because I did read it. So, like, that counts. But, guys, I'm not gonna, like, try to remember a summary. Like, it's Hamlet. It's a classic. Like, people died everywhere, so... So the next book, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say aloud. I have it with me. It's called Blank Notes by Michael Thomas Ford. I gave this a 4-star, I'm pretty sure. Main character, I don't remember his name, but we kind of just, like, he wakes up in a mental institution after trying to harm himself without any remembrance of what happened. He's not alone. He's with, I think, 4 or 5 other people, and we kind of hear their stories too. We don't find out till the end what really happened and what went on, but it was a lot of character growth throughout the book. I feel like self-development was really focused on throughout this. But again, I would look up trigger warnings. It's something you need to go into with being in the right mental state before reading it, because it does touch a lot of heavy topics. Next, I read The Silent Patient, which we've all heard of. I only gave this a 3-star, guys. I borrowed this book from my dance teacher, so I don't have it with me. But I only gave this book a 3-star. I, like, guessed the ending, like, halfway through, so it was kind of just anticlimactic. It's told from a psychiatrist's point of view, and he's with his patient who shot her husband and became mute ever since, so no one knows really what happened. I still did enjoy the book a lot. It just wasn't like this 5-star read like everyone made it out to be. So next we got into my summer reading. So I did not enjoy this book. I read When You Were Mine by Rebecca Surley. I think that's how you say it. I give this a 3-star. I read this on senior week. So it's supposed to be like a Romeo Juliet retelling. It sounded really good. Like, I got it as a gift. She is also the author of In 5 Years, and my friend who reads books with me, she read In 5 Years and did not like it. She almost DNF'd it. So I think it just wasn't for us. It wasn't really like it was summary for a little bit, but like not at the same time. The book was kind of just crazy, and I felt like the characters were kind of like so like insufferable. Like, it was so hard even like just being able to read about them. Like, I just did not connect with them at all. I don't know like if I'd recommend it to anyone, but it is worth a try for whoever would be interested in reading it. The next book I have, I also read when I was at the beach, as it was such a bad like summer reading. So I read Seasons of the Storm by Ellie Cosmano. Guys, I gave this a 3-star. I honestly could consider like moving this back to a 2-star. The premise of the book seemed so interesting. It kind of was giving Hunger Games in a way. So I was like, oh, this will be really cool. So our main character Jack and our other main character Fleur, I'm not sure how to pronounce hers, when they die in the real world, Gia or Sonos, something like that. Guys, like I said, it was very complicated. You're given the choice to live forever, but you have to live by the rules of Gia, or just die. So Jack, he represents winter. Fleur, I don't know. I don't know, guys. So she's spring, and then there's someone that's summer and someone that's fall, but there's like thousands of these sets of people. And so during your season, you are sought to kill the person that's before you. So Jack always had to kill the Fleur, guys, I'm gonna stop saying her name. So he had to kill her. But they don't really die. They just it keeps rehappening. But if you are under this line of using your powers correctly or incorrectly and not being able to stay above the line, like, they would kill you. And Jack realizes that he loves Fleur, or whatever her name is. Guys, this is so embarrassing, but he loves her. So he tries to convince everyone to run away, and they can try to live on their own. And it was just so long. This book was so long for no reason. I felt like This is the most complicated book I've ever read, but literally nothing happened at the same time, I swear. Like, towards the end, the same exact events were happening, just different places. I would not recommend. Personally, I wouldn't recommend. I'm not much of a fantasy reader. Like, I want to be, like, I'm trying to get into it, but like, this was not fantasy, and I really thought it was going to be dystopian, because like, that's what Goodreads was kind of giving, and it was not either. So like, and if you enjoyed this book, like, good for you guys. Like, it was not for me. It was not something for me. But yes, that was my opinion on Seasons of the Storm. Hey, this next book I'm so excited to talk about. I don't have it with me because I'm letting my aunt borrow it, but it's one of my favorite books I read, By a Thread by Lucy Score. Guys, it was a 5-star. I loved it so much. So By a Thread is romance with Dominic and Allie, and they are like not teenagers at all, guys. Like, I want to like highly say that, but you don't even realize it when you're reading it. Like, I'm just like, oh, this is like a movie, like you know how sometimes you read a romance novel and you're like, oh, like, it's like a romance novel, and then other times you're like, I feel like I'm watching the best movie in my entire life, like, play out through in my head. That was me with this book. I devoured this book. I loved it so much. So he is her boss, but they hate each other. So Allie is working in a pizza restaurant when she first meets Dominic, who's with his mom, and they did not get along right off the bat, and he ends up getting her fired. His mom finds her and offers her a job. So they're like kind of forced to work with each other. Like, he can't fire her because he didn't hire her, but she still works for him, kind of thing. And he realizes like now, like, that she is all he thinks about all the time. She's kind of like hates him, but like, she's like, oh yeah, I'm attracted to you, but I hate you and you're an awful person. But like, then they start to fall in love. Like, I know I sound like ridiculous, but then they started to fall in love, and it's so good, and I love it so much. One of my favorite romances, and I definitely will be rereading. I love this book so much, and I would recommend to anyone. Okay. So the next book I read was Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, maybe? Ishiguro? This was a 4.5 star for me. This, loved it. I even watched the movie afterwards. It says a story about Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy, who grow up on Hailsham, which is a school for clones that are just kind of there to donate their organs. They have been told they've had to do since they were children, so it wasn't something that was frightening to them. It was just what they had to do. It was their job. There's this rumor that those who are in love and who are truly, truly, truly in love don't have to, will get a couple extra years to live together before they have to donate their organs. It's really heartbreaking, but good at the same time. I did enjoy this a lot. I could go on and on about this book. The movie was also with Andrew Garfield plays Tommy in the movie. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 star, like I said, and I would recommend. Next book I read was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this, I think, a 3.5 star. If not, it's going to be a 3.5 star. So our main character's name is Elise, and she's like a grad student, like slash professor, I think? Maybe not a grad student. One of those two. I know she definitely is a professor as she's trying to get another job at another university. The thing about Ali Hazel books, I do tend to read them when I'm at school because I don't know why I feel so like so put together, and I'm like, I want to do my schoolwork and I want to do this, you know? Like, I just feel like so main character, so I tend to hold off and read her things till I'm at school. Like I said, she is a professor. She's trying to get a job at another university so she can do more of what she wants to do. In the meantime, to make extra money, she fake dates people for like a day. Like, so she's going to this interview for this new job, and Jack is there, and he is the one that's on the hiring committee. So she is very confused. He's very confused, and it kind of just goes on from there. Like, is she lying? Like, he thinks she's lying about her brother, his brother. It's a whole thing. This is my issue with the book. I felt like the book, the whole entire time, trying so hard to put in like character growth on like how much she struggles to do what she wants to do and not like about other people. Like instead she's like so much struggling on like making decisions for herself when she always tries to make them to benefit other people, which is so great because I think it's so important to do things for yourself. But I felt like the book just constantly went on and on and on and on about it, which is fine, like because like that is so important. But I was also like, I feel like I just read 17 pages about how like she can't make any decisions for herself, and like she's trying to be a better person and he's just forcing her to be this person she's not, but she needs to be. I just think it was hard for me to read personally. But yes, I read Harry Potter next. Guys, I loved Harry Potter. I've never seen any of the movies or read any of the books, so I give this a 4-star. I started reading it in the fall because, you know, like you're supposed to read Harry Potter in the fall. That's what you're supposed to do. I'll know the story of Harry Potter. He was a boy with the like little scar on his head. Guys, I very much enjoyed, and then I watched the first movie afterwards. So Harry Potter, I felt like it was super easy to read, like super like okay, nonchalant, like I'm just gonna read and have a good time, and that's what I needed. And it was so good, and I loved like the movie adaptation was so good too, and I'm so excited to get more into it because I feel like the plot line gets better and better since they're very young right now. I also loved that it is a children's book, so it was like so simple to read. And yeah, I did enjoy it. 4 stars. Okay, the next book I don't have an actual paper copy yet, and I need to get, is The Score by Ellie Kennedy. Guys, so good. 5-star. This is about Dean, and I always forget the main girls' characters' names, guys. I'm so sorry. Like, nothing against them. I just constantly am forgetting their names. So Dean is kind of like very much a flirt. Like he's slept with so many people, and our main girl character, she is Hannah's roommate. And it's kind of like Dean, you never think he would settle down, and then he just falls in love with this girl after a one-night stand, and it's so good. So I did not love it as much as I loved The Deal, but it was still very good, and I did enjoy it a lot, and I would definitely recommend to anyone. I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I gave it, I think, a 4.75 star. Seen a lot about it, so I was like a little skeptical going into it because I did know it was about video games, which I don't mind video games, like I love video games, but I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. In the book, this was a story about Sam, and I think her name's Sadie. I'm pretty sure her name's Sadie. And they just meet in a hospital when they're younger after Sam's in like a traumatic accident, and Sadie's sister, who has issues as well, is in the hospital. So Sam and Sadie kind of meet in the hospital and kind of like both like bond over video games. And from there they kind of just like they became best friends until something happens because of Sadie. Sorry, Sadie, not trying to call you out like that, but like I am. And they kind of grow apart for a little bit, but like they don't rekindle till they are adults in college and decide, hey, like let's build a video game together. So they build a video game called Ishigo, and it's kind of like their child. Like that is their child. And I would almost bump it up to a 5-star now that I'm like thinking more on it, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But like the video games is a major part of it, but it's also at the same time not. I was more focused on the relationship between Sam and Sadie. Throughout the book, I was kind of conflicted on if I wanted Sam and Sadie to get together or if they were just so problematic for each other. I was like, is it healthy for these two to try to start something with each other when everything in their life with each other is literally based off of miscommunication? Nothing is ever good because they don't communicate. And that's what their issue was throughout the book, and I think they wasted a lot of time just in general in life. They missed so much because they didn't communicate how they were feeling. So I don't think a relationship, in my opinion, would have been good for them. Last 2 books is Shatter Me and Destroy Me. I reread them. The Shatter Me series is actually one of my favorite series of all times. I love Warner so much, you guys, you don't understand. Shatter Me is pretty much about a girl who has been put in asylum because every single time someone touches her, they are either in excruciating pain or they die. Warner wants to use Juliet as a weapon. Guys, you gotta read the story. You're gonna read it and you're gonna be like, oh, I get it now. So The Shatter Me is from her point of view, Destroy Me is from Warner's point of view. I feel like it's so important to read the Destroy Me novella. Like, I don't think you have to read all of them, but the Destroy Me novella is so, so, so important because if not, you're like, Warner's a complete awful human being. Why is everyone like romanticizing this man? When reality, you need to read this because you're gonna be like, oh, I get it. Overall, like, I would recommend the series with everything in my soul. It's so good. Shatter Me is just my favorite, and I did reread it. Okay, that is my 2024 reading wrap up of all the books I read this year. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you come back and watch again. Guys, bye.